There comes a moment in life when the energy between two souls reaches a turning point. A moment when silence becomes heavier than words, when hesitation becomes more painful than action, and when the heart can no longer ignore what it has always known. Perhaps someone in your life has been standing at the crossroads of fear and truth. They have watched you grow. They have witnessed your strength through challenges, your grace through disappointment, and your ability to keep moving forward even when life demanded everything from you. While you were focused on becoming the best version of yourself, something remarkable was happening beneath the surface. Your transformation was leaving an imprint on their soul. You see, human beings often fail to recognize the true value of a connection while they are protected by the illusion that it will always be there. The mind becomes comfortable, the heart becomes cautious, and the ego convinces itself that there is always more time. But eventually, reality breaks through the illusion. A realization begins to emerge. A realization that some people are not easily replaced. Some connections are not ordinary. Some souls arrive in our lives carrying lessons, growth, and meaning that cannot be duplicated. Today, we explore a profound psychological truth. The moment a person realizes they can no longer afford to lose someone who has become deeply significant to their journey. This is not about chasing. It is not about manipulation. It is not about making anyone prove their love. It is about understanding the awakening that occurs when fear finally loses its grip and authenticity takes its place. Because sometimes the next step is not driven by pressure. It is driven by clarity. And when clarity arrives, everything changes. So if this message found you today, take a deep breath and listen closely. What you are about to hear may reveal why some people wait, why they hesitate, and why eventually the heart demands a courage that the mind can no longer resist. Many people believe that strong relationships are built primarily on attraction, chemistry, or shared interests. While these elements can certainly create an initial connection, psychology teaches us that the deeper foundation of any lasting bond is emotional security. Emotional security is the feeling that you can be yourself without fear of judgment, rejection, or constant uncertainty. It is the quiet confidence that allows two people to communicate honestly, express their emotions, and grow together without feeling threatened by every disagreement or challenge. When individuals feel emotionally safe, they are more willing to reveal their true thoughts and feelings. They no longer feel the need to wear masks, hide their vulnerabilities, or pretend to be someone they are not. This openness creates trust. And trust is one of the most valuable resources any relationship can possess. Without trust, even the strongest attraction can become fragile. With trust, however, a relationship gains the strength to endure misunderstandings, stressful periods, and the natural changes that occur throughout life. Emotional security also influences the way people handle conflict. In relationships lacking security, disagreements often become battles where both individuals focus on protecting themselves. Fear takes control, and communication becomes defensive. However, when emotional security is present, conflict transforms into an opportunity for understanding. Instead of seeing a disagreement as a threat to the relationship, both people view it as a chance to learn more about each other. This mindset encourages empathy, patience, and emotional maturity. Research in psychology consistently shows that people thrive when they feel accepted and valued. Human beings have a fundamental need for belonging. When someone feels genuinely seen and appreciated, their nervous system relaxes. They become more confident, more resilient, and more capable of forming meaningful connections. This is why emotionally secure relationships often inspire personal growth. They create an environment where individuals can take risks, pursue goals, and face challenges, knowing they have support rather than criticism waiting for them. An important aspect of emotional security is consistency. People trust what is reliable. Consistent actions communicate sincerity more effectively than occasional grand gestures. Small moments of kindness, honesty, and dependability accumulate over time, creating a sense of stability that strengthens emotional bonds. It is not perfection that creates security. It is the repeated demonstration of care, respect, and integrity. Another powerful truth is that emotional security begins within. The more secure you become in your own identity, the healthier your relationships tend to be. When you recognize your own worth, you are less likely to seek constant reassurance from others. Instead, you can engage in relationships from a place of confidence rather than fear. This allows love to become a source of enrichment rather than a solution to insecurity. Ultimately, meaningful connections flourish when both individuals feel safe enough to be authentic. Emotional security allows people to communicate openly, support each other's growth, and build trust that deepens over time. It is the invisible foundation beneath every healthy relationship, quietly strengthening the bond and creating the conditions where genuine love, respect, and understanding can thrive. Many people believe attraction is created by appearance, status, or the ability to impress others. While these factors may capture attention for a moment, psychological research and real-life experience reveal something much deeper. Lasting attraction is often rooted in growth. Human beings are naturally drawn toward individuals who are evolving, learning, and becoming more aligned with their authentic selves. Growth carries a quiet energy that others can feel, even when no words are spoken. When you invest in your emotional intelligence, develop healthier habits, and learn from life's challenges, you begin to radiate a different kind of confidence. This confidence is not loud, arrogant, or dependent on external validation. Instead, it comes from knowing who you are and understanding that your worth does not depend on someone else's approval. People often mistake confidence for perfection, but true confidence is actually the willingness to embrace both strengths and imperfections while continuing to grow. Psychologically, growth signals emotional stability and resilience. When others observe someone handling difficulties with maturity, adapting to change, and maintaining self-respect during challenges, they often perceive that person as trustworthy and inspiring. This is because growth demonstrates the ability to face reality rather than avoid it. It reflects inner strength, and inner strength is one of the most attractive qualities a person can possess. Growth also changes the way you interact with relationships. Instead of seeking someone to complete you, you begin seeking connection from a place of wholeness. You stop expecting another person to fill every emotional gap and start taking responsibility for your own well-being. This shift creates healthier dynamics because relationships become partnerships rather than dependencies. Emotional independence often increases attraction because it allows love to flow freely rather than through fear or neediness. Another important psychological principle is that people are inspired by those who embody progress. When someone sees you pursuing meaningful goals, learning new skills, healing old wounds, or becoming more self-aware, it can awaken a desire within them to grow as well. Human beings often mirror the energy of those around them. Your commitment to self-development can become a silent invitation for others to elevate their own lives. Growth also teaches patience. As you mature emotionally, you begin to understand that not everything needs to happen immediately. You learn to trust timing, respect personal boundaries, and allow relationships to develop naturally. This patience reduces anxiety and creates a sense of calm that others find comforting. Instead of chasing outcomes, you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, and that mindset often creates stronger and more meaningful connections. Perhaps the greatest lesson is that growth shifts your attention away from trying to be chosen and toward becoming someone you genuinely respect. When you respect yourself, your standards rise. Your decisions become wiser, Your relationships become healthier, and whether someone takes the next step toward you or not, you continue moving forward. In the end, growth is attractive because it reflects life itself. It shows movement, learning, resilience, and hope. It demonstrates that you are not trapped by your past or limited by your fears. Every step you take toward greater self-awareness and emotional maturity strengthens your character. And while you may begin the journey for your own benefit, others often notice the transformation. Not because you are trying to impress them, but because genuine growth has a light that naturally shines outward. Human beings often discover the true value of something only when they realize it is not guaranteed to remain within reach forever. This psychological principle appears in many areas of life, including relationships, friendships, opportunities, and personal growth. It is not about creating fear or intentionally making someone feel insecure. Rather, it is about understanding how awareness works within the human mind. Many people move through their daily lives without fully recognizing the significance of the people who support, inspire, and encourage them. Familiarity can sometimes create a false sense of permanence. When someone becomes a consistent presence, their kindness, loyalty, understanding, and emotional support may gradually blend into the background. Not because they are unimportant, but because the mind naturally adapts to what it experiences regularly. Psychologists often refer to this as adaptation, the tendency to become accustomed to positive circumstances and eventually notice them less consciously. However, moments of reflection can change everything. When an individual begins to understand that a meaningful connection is not something to be taken for granted, they often gain a deeper appreciation for what that person contributes to their life. This realization can spark emotional growth, increased gratitude, and a stronger desire to invest in the relationship. What is important to understand is that healthy relationships are never strengthened through manipulation, emotional games, or attempts to provoke jealousy. Genuine emotional awareness develops naturally when both individuals continue growing and honoring their own paths. When a person witnesses someone becoming more confident, self-respecting, emotionally mature, and aligned with their purpose, it often causes them to reflect on the significance of that individual in a new way. Sometimes people hesitate to express their feelings because they assume there will always be another opportunity. They postpone important conversations. They delay vulnerable expressions of appreciation. They wait for a perfect moment that never seems to arrive. Yet life has a way of reminding us that meaningful connections deserve attention in the present, not merely in some imagined future. This awareness often becomes a powerful catalyst for transformation. A person may suddenly recognize how much inspiration, comfort, encouragement, or joy another individual has brought into their life. They begin to understand that certain connections are rare, and that genuine emotional compatibility is not something that should be overlooked. As this realization grows, hesitation may gradually give way to courage. From a self-development perspective, the deeper lesson is not whether another person becomes afraid of losing you. The true lesson is learning to value yourself enough that your happiness does not depend on someone else's recognition. When you understand your own worth, you stop seeking constant reassurance from others. You begin to appreciate your own qualities, strengths, and growth. This inner confidence creates healthier dynamics because it allows relationships to be based on mutual appreciation rather than emotional dependency. Ironically, when people cultivate self-respect and emotional independence, they often become more appreciated by others. Not because they demand attention, but because their authenticity becomes impossible to ignore. Their presence carries a sense of stability, confidence, and emotional maturity that naturally inspires respect. In the end, meaningful relationships thrive when both individuals consciously recognize and appreciate each other's value. Awareness is not about fear. It is about gratitude. It is the moment someone realizes that certain people bring something special into their life and that such connections deserve honesty, effort, and care. When that understanding emerges, it often inspires actions that previously seemed impossible, allowing relationships to evolve with greater depth, sincerity, and emotional wisdom. One of the most important truths about human emotions is that people do not arrive at understanding, healing, or commitment at the same pace. Every individual carries a unique psychological timeline shaped by personal experiences, childhood influences, past relationships, fears, hopes, and emotional maturity. Because of this, two people can feel a strong connection and yet move through that connection in very different ways. Many people assume that if someone truly cares, they will immediately know what they want and act without hesitation. However, psychology shows that emotional readiness is far more complex. A person may deeply value a connection while still struggling to process their feelings. They may need time to understand what the relationship means to them, what fears it activates, and what changes it may require in their life. This delay is not always a sign of indifference. Often it reflects an internal journey that is taking place beneath the surface. Human beings are naturally influenced by their past experiences. Someone who has experienced disappointment, rejection, betrayal, or emotional instability may become cautious even when they encounter something healthy and meaningful. Their mind may seek certainty before taking risks. Their heart may need reassurance before becoming vulnerable. In these situations, growth does not happen instantly. It unfolds gradually as trust develops and self-awareness increases. Patience becomes a powerful form of emotional intelligence because it allows people the space to evolve naturally. When we try to force outcomes, demand answers, or rush emotional processes, we often create resistance. Growth that is pressured rarely lasts. Growth that emerges from genuine understanding tends to be much more stable and authentic. Just as a seed cannot be forced to bloom before its season, emotional readiness cannot be demanded before a person has completed the inner work necessary for that next step. This principle also applies to our own personal development. Sometimes we become frustrated because life is not moving according to our preferred timeline. We want clarity now. We want certainty now. We want answers now. Yet some of the most meaningful transformations occur during periods of waiting. These moments teach resilience, self-respect, emotional regulation, and trust in the natural unfolding of life. The deeper lesson is that another person's timing is not a measurement of your worth. Their readiness does not determine your value. It is easy to internalize delays and assume they reflect something lacking within us, but emotional timelines are often more about the other person's internal process than about the relationship itself. Recognizing this truth can free us from unnecessary self-doubt and help us maintain a healthier perspective. When we understand that people awaken to their emotions at different speeds, we become less reactive and more compassionate. We learn to respect both our own journey and the journeys of others. We stop trying to control outcomes and begin focusing on what we can influence: our own growth, our own healing, and our own emotional balance. In the end, the strongest relationships are not built through pressure or urgency. They are built when two people reach a place of readiness where they can meet each other with honesty, maturity, and intention. Timing may not always align immediately, but when growth is genuine and awareness deepens, clarity often arrives exactly when it is meant to. The key is to continue moving forward, trusting your path, and allowing life to unfold without abandoning your own sense of purpose and self-worth. One of the most transformative psychological shifts a person can experience is learning the difference between self-respect and self-sacrifice. Many people grow up believing that love means constantly giving, constantly understanding, constantly waiting, and constantly putting the needs of others before their own. While kindness, compassion, and patience are beautiful qualities, they become unhealthy when they require a person to abandon their own emotional well-being. True emotional maturity begins when an individual understands that honoring themselves is not selfish, it is necessary. Self-respect is the foundation upon which every healthy relationship is built. It is the quiet inner belief that your feelings matter, your needs matter, your boundaries matter, and your time matters. It is not arrogance or superiority. It is simply the recognition that you possess inherent worth regardless of how others respond to you. When a person develops genuine self-respect, they stop measuring their value through external validation. They no longer depend entirely on another person's approval, attention, or affection to feel complete. Psychologically, people are often drawn toward those who demonstrate healthy self-worth. This is because confidence rooted in self-respect creates emotional stability. Individuals who respect themselves tend to communicate more honestly, make healthier decisions, and establish relationships based on mutual understanding rather than fear. They are less likely to tolerate disrespectful behavior because they understand that preserving their dignity is more important than preserving a connection at any cost. Many relationship struggles emerge when people confuse love with the need to be chosen. They begin believing that if they can just say the right thing, do the right thing, or become the right person, they will finally receive the attention they desire. This mindset creates anxiety because personal worth becomes dependent on circumstances outside one's control. Emotional intelligence teaches a different lesson. It teaches that your value exists before anyone recognizes it. It exists whether someone stays or leaves. It exists whether another person fully understands your worth or not. There is tremendous power in reaching the point where you can love someone deeply while still maintaining respect for yourself. This balance allows you to remain open-hearted without becoming emotionally dependent. It enables you to care without losing your identity. It gives you the strength to support others without abandoning your own growth. Such balance is one of the clearest signs of emotional maturity. People often notice when someone begins embodying this kind of self-respect. There is a calmness that emerges, a quiet confidence, a sense of inner security that cannot be manufactured through appearances or words alone. Others may not always understand why they feel drawn to this energy, but they recognize it. It communicates that this person knows who they are and refuses to compromise their values for temporary approval. When you honor your boundaries, you also create healthier opportunities for connection. Boundaries are not walls designed to keep people out. They are guidelines that help relationships remain respectful and balanced. They communicate what behavior supports trust and what behavior damages it. Without boundaries, resentment often grows. With healthy boundaries, understanding and respect have room to flourish. The most important lesson is that self-respect is not something another person gives you. It is something you cultivate within yourself. The more you nurture it, the less you feel compelled to chase validation from the outside world. Instead, you begin operating from a place of inner strength. And from that place, every relationship becomes healthier because it is built upon choice rather than desperation, confidence rather than fear, and authenticity rather than insecurity. In the end, the strongest connections are not formed when one person loses themselves for another. They are formed when two people bring their fullest, healthiest selves together and choose each other from a place of mutual respect and genuine appreciation. There are periods in life when nothing seems certain. Relationships feel unclear, plans appear delayed, and emotions become difficult to interpret. While these moments can create discomfort, psychology teaches us that uncertainty is often one of the most powerful catalysts for personal transformation. Human beings naturally seek predictability because the mind associates certainty with safety. However, growth rarely emerges from complete comfort. Instead, it is often born in those spaces where familiar answers disappear and deeper self-discovery begins. When people encounter uncertainty in their emotional lives, they are frequently pushed into a process of reflection that they might otherwise avoid. Questions begin to surface. What do I truly value? What kind of relationship do I want? Am I acting from love or fear? Am I holding on to something because it aligns with my authentic self, or because I am afraid of being alone? These questions may feel uncomfortable, yet they serve an important purpose. They guide individuals toward greater self-awareness and emotional maturity. From a psychological perspective, uncertainty disrupts automatic patterns. When everything feels predictable, people often operate on habit. They repeat familiar behaviors, maintain old beliefs, and avoid examining deeper emotional truths. Uncertainty interrupts this routine. It forces the mind to become more conscious. It creates an opportunity to evaluate what is working, what is no longer serving growth, and what changes may be necessary for a healthier future. Many significant breakthroughs occur during periods when people feel lost. The uncertainty itself is not the transformation. It is the doorway to transformation. When familiar structures begin to shift, individuals gain the chance to develop resilience, patience, and emotional intelligence. They learn to tolerate discomfort without allowing it to control their decisions. They begin discovering strength that was always present but had never been fully tested. In relationships, uncertainty can reveal hidden fears and unmet needs. It can expose insecurities that require healing and expectations that need adjustment. Rather than viewing these discoveries as failures, they can be understood as opportunities for growth. Awareness is the first step toward positive change. A person cannot improve what they refuse to acknowledge. Therefore, uncertainty often acts as a mirror, reflecting areas of emotional development that deserve attention. One of the most valuable lessons uncertainty teaches is trust. Not necessarily trust that everything will happen exactly as planned, but trust in one's ability to navigate whatever happens next. This shift is profound. Instead of depending entirely on external circumstances for security, individuals begin cultivating inner stability. They realize that their worth, peace, and identity do not have to fluctuate with every outcome. Emotional growth occurs when people stop demanding immediate answers and start embracing the learning process itself. They understand that not every question requires an instant solution. Some answers emerge through patience, observation, and experience. By allowing life to unfold naturally, they gain wisdom that could never be acquired through force or control. Ultimately, uncertainty is not merely a challenge to endure. It is often an invitation to evolve. It encourages deeper self-knowledge, greater emotional strength, and a clearer understanding of what truly matters. What initially appears to be confusion may actually be preparation. What feels like delay may be creating space for growth. And what seems uncertain today may one day be recognized as the very experience that led to greater clarity, confidence, and personal transformation. Human beings are naturally designed for connection. From the earliest moments of life, relationships shape how we see ourselves, understand the world, and experience emotional security. Modern psychology suggests that one of our deepest needs is not merely survival, success, or achievement, but meaningful belonging. Beneath many of our goals lies a simple desire to feel seen, understood, valued, and connected to others in a genuine way. This desire for connection is not a weakness, it is part of what makes us human. Healthy emotional bonds provide support during difficult times, encouragement during periods of growth, and a sense of stability when life feels uncertain. When people form authentic relationships, they often experience greater emotional resilience, improved mental well-being, and a stronger sense of purpose. Knowing that someone understands your thoughts, appreciates your presence, and values your journey can have a powerful impact on self-confidence and emotional health. However, meaningful bonds are not built solely on attraction or shared interests. They develop through trust, consistency, mutual respect, and emotional honesty. Real connection grows when people allow themselves to be authentic rather than performing versions of themselves designed to gain approval. The more genuine the interaction, the stronger the foundation becomes. People often spend years searching for deep relationships without realizing that true connection begins with authenticity. When masks fall away, meaningful bonds have room to grow. Many individuals underestimate the influence they have on others. Sometimes a simple conversation, a kind gesture, or a consistent presence can become deeply significant in another person's life. Human beings remember how others make them feel. They remember those who listened when they needed understanding, those who offered encouragement during moments of doubt, and those who inspired growth through their example. These experiences create emotional memories that often last far longer than people expect. Psychologically, meaningful connections also act as mirrors. Through relationships, we discover aspects of ourselves that might otherwise remain hidden. We learn about our strengths, insecurities, hopes, fears, and emotional patterns. The people who impact us most often challenge us to grow beyond old limitations. They encourage self-reflection and help us become more aware of who we truly are. In this way, relationships are not only sources of comfort, they are also catalysts for personal development. There are times when someone begins to recognize the true value of a connection only after reflecting on its importance. This realization is not always immediate. Sometimes people become distracted by responsibilities, fears, or uncertainties. Yet as they gain perspective, they may begin to understand how much a certain person contributes to their emotional world. They may recognize the support, understanding, inspiration, or peace that the relationship provides. Such awareness often motivates individuals to become more intentional about protecting and nurturing that bond. The most important lesson is that meaningful connections thrive when they are built on freedom rather than control. Genuine relationships cannot be forced. They flourish when both people choose to invest emotionally, communicate honestly, and respect one another's growth. When a bond is healthy, it encourages each person to become a better version of themselves while still honoring their individuality. Ultimately, the human mind continually seeks relationships that bring meaning, understanding, and emotional depth. While achievements and possessions may provide temporary satisfaction, authentic human connection often leaves the deepest and most lasting impact. It reminds us that beyond all ambitions and challenges, one of life's greatest gifts is the opportunity to genuinely connect with another soul and grow together through the journey of life. One of the most profound psychological truths about human relationships is that genuine love inspires courage rather than control. Healthy emotional bonds are not built through pressure, manipulation, fear, or attempts to force another person into a specific outcome. Instead, meaningful connections create an environment where people feel encouraged to become more honest, vulnerable, and authentic versions of themselves. When someone truly values another person, they often begin to confront fears that have kept them emotionally guarded for years. In this way, love becomes less about possession and more about personal transformation. Many individuals struggle with vulnerability because vulnerability requires uncertainty. It asks a person to reveal their feelings without knowing exactly how those feelings will be received. The human mind naturally seeks safety, and emotional exposure can feel risky. People fear rejection, disappointment, embarrassment, or the possibility of getting hurt. As a result, they may delay important conversations, hide their true emotions, or convince themselves that remaining silent is the safer choice. Yet psychology shows that avoidance rarely creates peace. Instead, unresolved emotions often continue to occupy mental and emotional space, influencing thoughts and behavior long after opportunities have passed. Over time, a person may begin to recognize that their fear is costing them more than their courage would. They may realize that avoiding vulnerability has not protected them from discomfort. It has simply replaced one form of discomfort with another. The anxiety of uncertainty becomes less painful than the regret of never expressing what was in their heart. This realization often becomes a turning point in emotional growth. Rather than allowing fear to control every decision, they begin taking small but meaningful steps toward honesty and openness. An important aspect of emotional intelligence is understanding that courage does not mean the absence of fear. Courage means moving forward despite fear. It means accepting uncertainty while remaining true to one's values. When someone develops this mindset, they become more capable of forming deeper and healthier relationships because they are no longer hiding behind emotional defenses. They learn that authenticity creates stronger connections than perfection ever could. At the same time, it is essential to remember that your value does not depend on another person's actions. One of the healthiest forms of self-growth occurs when individuals stop seeking constant external validation and begin recognizing their own worth. Confidence rooted in self-awareness is different from confidence based on approval from others. When you understand your value, you become less focused on convincing people to choose you and more focused on living in alignment with your principles and purpose. Ironically, this inner security often creates the strongest foundation for meaningful relationships. People are naturally drawn to those who respect themselves, honor their boundaries, and maintain emotional balance. If someone eventually decides to take an important step forward, it is not because they were pressured into doing so. It is because they came to recognize the significance of the connection on their own. Genuine love allows people the freedom to choose, and when that choice is made from awareness rather than fear, it becomes far more meaningful and lasting. In the end, the deepest relationships are not built on control, dependency, or emotional games. They are built on mutual respect, personal growth, courage, and the willingness of two individuals to meet each other with honesty and emotional maturity.